Hello, and welcome to another episode of Movies That Make Us. I'm Jake.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Val.
And we are back with a not Fan X episode. So we're just our normal episode. And we're doing staff picks. It's been a month or so.
I'm going to pre-apologize. I have to do this from my phone today. And so I'm sitting in my room in a nest of dogs. I have Fern with me and then Samson, who is a pug. So breathing is hard. So if it gets too out of control, I will mute it. But if you hear weird pug breathing, Vader noises in the background, everything's fine. It's just Rhodey.
Yeah. Totally understandable.
It's not me. Unless I was sleeping, and then I sound exactly the same.
We should use that like for any time we have a weird noise on the show going forward. Just be like, it's just Rhodey.
It's just Rhodey.
No big deal. Don't even worry about it. It's fine.
So you guys recovered from Fan X?
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad this year. Normally I get a little bit of the what they call the con crud, but I felt like the next day I was really, really tired. Like Sunday I was just exhausted, but I was feeling fine health wise. So
yeah, I think I'm gonna wear masks like just from here on out. Even when we don't have to, because I usually get a little bit of the con crud and I didn't. But yeah, I was tired. But like this whole week has been like my old life used to be 3 years ago. Like I had movie screenings I went from, we went from Disneyland, the trip to Disneyland, to Fan X for 3 days, and then it's movie season. So all the movies that were supposed to come out right now, and then all the movies that were supposed to come out last year right now are all coming out at the same time. So this week alone, I've spent like 12 and a half hours in screenings so that I could review this week's movies and next week's movies.
Wow.
Next week I have a few screenings, but not as much. But like the October 1st and 8th, there are so many movies.
Can you give us coming out? Which one's been your favorite?
Oh, so far, like I really liked Bond. I will be sending I will have my James Bond review to Jake probably by tomorrow morning, so he can put it up on the Stolen Droids website. Cool. And I really did like the Many Saints of Newark, like that.
I've heard good things about both of those.
Yeah, I wasn't like, I watched The Sopranos and I enjoyed it, but I wasn't like a super fan. But I enjoyed it. But I do love that style of movie.
Yeah.
And I really liked how they gave us everything that we love about The Sopranos. But this is all this is when Tony Soprano's young, but you see all the characters that we liked in the movie, but they're all young and they all look like those characters. It's crazy how they found actors and actresses that looked and acted like them that were also good. And then when you throw Leslie Odom Jr. in the mix, who I purposefully have been trying not to learn about movies before going in now, except for Marvel movies. That's the only one that I learn everything about. And I didn't know he was in it. So it was nice that when he popped up on screen, I was like,
whoa. And
then he was really, really good. And they left it kind of hanging like maybe there could be another movie and he would be the main focus, because they do get into the social issues of that time period with Black Americans in New York going through like this revolution, this racial revolution. And so, it was really cool that they took that on instead of just sticking to, what we would think that they would stick to. And of course, I mean, when you think about The Sopranos, you think about the music that they use. And they do that for this movie. There are a lot of really cool moments, and the music that they put to it was really neat. So
that's
very enjoyable.
Now I heard with Bond, it's like a direct continuation of Spectre. Is that correct?
If you haven't seen Spectre, you'll
It's been a
probably
while.
still like, I haven't seen it in a while. The last time I saw it was when it came out, and I saw it
Yeah.
like twice in that time period. But I think if you haven't seen it, you're still going to understand. It's a James Bond movie, right?
Right.
But there will be more things that connect. It is almost a 3-hour movie. To me,
Wow.
it didn't feel like 3 hours, but I was the last one to give my like statement to the studios after all the film critics, and I was the only one that said I enjoyed it. So
Really?
this
Nobody
is
Yeah.
this is the thing. This is the
Wow.
thing. I don't go into a James Bond movie thinking it needs to prove something to me.
Right.
I go into a James Bond movie to see fast cars, to see gadgets, to see
Exotic
action,
locations.
and with the Daniel Craig movies to feel all the feelings, happy, sad, drama, like he has all of it, to see gorgeous women that are smart and that could also kill you. Like, these are all the reasons I watched James Bond, and they gave you all of those things.
Right.
And they did shout outs, like throwbacks to the movies in the 60s and 70s.
Oh, cool.
So if
Wow.
you've been a Bond fan for a while, you will look at some of the things that they gave us and you're like, yeah, like that's yes. So,
right.
That's
So,
cool.
and then they updated it, but and they gave him his hero moment, which he needed and he deserved. This is the last one of these James Bond, because James Bond has had those moments over the years where it's changed. It's done a few movies and then it has this little change method. But this throws back to all the movies leading up to this point, that after this movie, things are going to be different. And they set that up so that you know. And at the end of the credits, it says James Bond will be back. So they gave us what we needed. They closed it. I feel like for me, it was like Endgame. I
Yeah.
felt very satisfied at the end. They gave me everything I wanted and needed as a fan, and they did right by the main character.
And leaves you excited to see what comes next.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. But it's true.
Good.
I've heard similar to what you mentioned, Val. A lot of critics have not been a huge fan of. I mean, most of them have said it's at least better than Spectre, which I guess a lot did not like Spectre very
I
much.
wasn't a big fan of Spectre,
Yeah.
but I remember. But it's been a couple years.
So, but I agree too that if you're going to a James Bond movie, you should have certain expectations, and if you have other expectations, then you're probably going to be disappointed. So,
Yeah.
But well, and you mentioned that you're going to have your review up, and I think that's something that people can look forward to from all three of us. I think we talked about at FanX that we're going to start writing some more reviews. Probably Val's probably going to write mostly the new stuff because she gets to go see those screeners, but Tracy and I will put some reviews up as well. Maybe tie in with our theme for the month or things like that. So it should be a lot of fun. So hopefully we'll give you some more content to enjoy, and hopefully I can talk through the rest of this episode. I will try my hardest.
Hello.
Oh,
You might have to be real close.
Oh, hi, buddy.
so I've got my camera at a weird angle and my screen is down here. So I wasn't looking at my screen, and so all I heard was just Tracy all of a sudden, hello. And I thought, well,
That's
one
the
of the
voice you
puppies
always
must be
hope when
there.
you see a nice puppy. Yep, exactly.
Yep. So
I love it. Like I lost one of my dogs this week, and
I'm so sorry.
Like Fern is just kind of like, every time I come home, she's like looking around, and she's, I think, like starting to realize maybe Samson's not coming back. And like, you have the conversation, but whatever. But Rhodey, because he hasn't been around Samson as much, he just kind of knows there's something wrong, and so he's been very, like, they both have been very close. But Fern's, she's starting to get a little sad and worried. So
I love how pets know that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like I've had times where I've had like dental issues and come home after being at the dentist for several hours, and the cat just wants to crawl up and lay right on your chest, type of thing. So
yeah.
It's pretty incredible how in tune they are with their human friends or parents, however you want to refer to yourself. I at least avoided master, because that sounds obviously wrong.
If anything, they own me.
Yeah.
That's true.
Especially Samson. Like Samson, I was basically like at his beck and call all the time. We spent probably the most time together just because of some of the issues that he had, and So it's just weird for me because my day had a lot to do with him, and now I'm like just kind of, like waking up 3 times a night thinking I have to get up to take him out, and I wake up and then I get sad again because I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
But it'll just like losing anybody else.
Yep. There's always going to be that hole, but it'll heal a little bit with time.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, we are doing staff picks again. Our last staff picks, I believe, was Westerns. I think was the last one that we did.
So. It's been a little while.
It's been a little while. But we are picking this time 3 of our favorite G-rated films each. So this was an interesting exercise for me. I think there's a lot of G-rated films out there, and some of them are definitely like not all G-rated films are equal as far as the content that's in there,
Right.
as far as the audience that they're geared toward, and people don't think about that. Steph, our friend from Cutscenes and Cupcakes, commented on one of my Facebook posts and was like, "How is like Willy Wonka and Gone with the Wind and Pinocchio rated G?" Well, the rating systems.
I picked one that's controversial. Surprise, surprise.
Nice.
I'm excited to see what we picked because the rating system has changed over time.
Right,
so what used to get a G isn't going to get a G anymore because PG has come along and PG-13 has come along. And honestly, the rating systems are all arbitrary anyway. So nobody really knows what all the rules are. And I don't think the people making the ratings also know what all the rules are. So
I mean, it's just like, did you get them on a good day?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I've read some directors who like trim out like 10 seconds of a movie and submit it and then get the rating that they want. It's so.
I mean, I think there are a few out there, like if you have this many F words, then it'll still be PG-13. But if you cross that line, then it'll be.
You get one.
Yeah.
I think you get one, and it can't be in a sexual content.
Right. Right. So there are some kind of hard, fast rules out there, but I don't know. So to answer your question, Steph, nobody really knows why any movie's rated anything, but I think with time, the ratings have changed. And, a serious movie like Gone with the Wind did get a general audience's rating, years and years and years ago, but may not have. I mean, I think it would be at least PG, maybe, nowadays. Well, nowadays it would be dark and gritty and there'd be more sex and profanity in it anyway. So
how dare you generalize us like that?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But let's talk about the movies that we did pick. I tried. So our friend Adrian commented on our Instagram post and said anything Disney animated, which was a shocker coming from Adrian that's what he would say as far as favorite G-rated movies. And I tried to stay away from just picking Disney animated films because there's a lot of those. And we all drink the Disney Kool-Aid and we all think they're fantastic. And so I was like, I don't want to do 3 of those films. So I'm interested to see what you guys picked. Let's start with you today, Tracy.
Am I doing all 3 or are we doing one?
All 3.
Okay. I do have a couple of Disney ones just because
and that's fine. I wasn't saying you couldn't pick Disney ones.
No, totally.
All right.
Yeah. It was just, I'm with you. Looking through lists of G-rated films, and it's like there's not a ton outside of the Disney name that you'd go, that's a really good movie. Like there's some where you're like, okay, but it's not one that you'd be like, that's something. So my first pick, I'm going back deep into my childhood. I'm going to pick the Walt Disney's Robin Hood.
Okay.
It's a musical version. That one was one of my mom's favorites, and we watched it all the time growing up. And the little rabbits, just it cracked me up. There's so much heart and humor, and I love Little John with his solid gold hubcaps, and the Sheriff of Nottingham's flirting with him, and there's some great moments in there. My second one I'm going with is a more modern one, and this one is under the Pixar umbrella. I don't believe we've talked about this one on the show. Ratatouille.
Okay.
And I know that's not everybody. I know it's not Val's cup of tea. But...
Whatever, it's on my list.
Oh, really? I thought it was going to be no. I thought
it's not my cup of tea.
The face you were giving with the
food.
finger,
it's about eating food. Of course it's my cup of tea.
Just like the definition of her cup of tea.
But the look that you gave with the evil pointy finger, I was like, uh-oh.
Just my face.
Okay.
Just my face. Well, you're facing a lot today. Can you just face less, please?
Could you give less face?
Do a Nick Cage and just face off.
Anyway. Oh, that would be awesome. I mean, he'd win. He has so many faces. I love Ratatouille. That's why it's on my list.
I love Brad Bird. I think Brad Bird is a seriously underrated director. I even really enjoyed Tomorrowland, which a lot of people did not. But there was a lot in that movie that really resonated with me. But Ratatouille, the whole anybody can be great, anybody can cook. You know, you just have to put in the time and have the passion for it. I think Patton Oswalt's vocal work in that one is sublime. His brother Emil just cracks me up. They just celebrated the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World, and the Ratatouille ride opened up in Epcot in the French pavilion.
I know, I'm so excited.
It is really cool. I got to ride it in France. I haven't been to Walt Disney World since it opened, of course, because just barely opened a couple days ago.
That was like just
yeah.
Just this week.
It's a really fun ride. It's a 3D ride. So 3D glasses. There's screens all around you. The cars all move independently from each other. There's no track. It's really quite a bit of fun. But some of the camera work is just so delightful. The scene of Remy trying to escape the kitchen, and he runs underneath the stove and the pilot light turns on, and just the coloring is just beautiful. I love the sequence where he's talking about how when you add different foods together and it creates this brand new taste, and they have very abstract.
Well, what I loved about that scene is I feel like they took a little bit of what we loved about Fantasia. Like old Disney, you know, Silly Symphonies, Fantasia, and they kind of put it into this new Pixar, you know, movie and made it, you know, Pixar'd it up. I don't know if that's like an
that's a verb now. Yeah, Pixar'd it up.
Verb, sure. But yeah, I know it was very creative, and it wasn't taken from something else. It, you know, it was I really liked it. It was innovative and creative, and I think we could all relate because we all have those people in our family, you know, that are like, what are you doing with your life? You know, like that kind of thing. And then you have, you know, you have the one person that's a little bit more like Remy that kind of wants to get out there and try everything. And I just feel like, yeah, I mean, even though it was about, you know, rats and some really awkward kid, like it was about family and friendships and listening to people. And, you know, when all of the rats tie the health inspector up and throw him into the thing, and then they tie the other guy up and throw him in there, and they're both just looking at each other. So great. Well, and they have them all hide on the little black things and the floors, just all the details. I love it.
Even Janine Garofalo does a great job on the vocal work. Like,
I like how you say that, like you expect her not to do a good job.
Because she's got a very distinct voice. And sometimes in animated films, like you hear the voice and you immediately know who the actor is.
Yeah, and you don't.
You don't. She does not sound like herself in that role, which I think is fantastic. I love the backstory of the making of this movie. They had another director, and the film was just not working out, and they hired Brad Bird, and Brad Bird rewrote the script in a week and came in and met with the team, and he said, you know what? We've got a year. I know you've been working on this for 3 years. We now have 1 year until release date, and we're going to make our release date. So it's going to take a lot of hours and a lot of overtime, but we're going to make a really good movie. And they did. That one just works for me on a lot of levels. And I love that they are so conscious of showing Remy always washing his hands. And he doesn't crawl around on the four legs.
No, he's on his hind legs. Yeah.
So his hands are never touching the ground, and then he's constantly washing his hands before he prepares the food. And some people just can't get past the idea of rats in the kitchen, and I get that, but there's so much more to it. The montage where he makes the soup is just sublime animation. My final pick, I'm going to go back in a little bit of a time capsule. Not one that's super mainstream, and it's The Last Unicorn. So I picked 3 animated films this time. I'm a big Peter S. Beagle fan. I got to meet him at FanX a couple years ago and actually purchase an original print or an original slide from the actual print of the movie, which is really cool. But that one deals with this unicorn. She wants to see and explore the world. There's an evil King Hagrid, who is voiced by Christopher Lee, who wants to capture all the unicorns and keep them to himself in the sea. And there's this giant red bull. You've got Alan Arkin as Schmendrick the magician. You've got Jeff Bridges in there. I can't remember the guy who does the voice of the skeleton that wants to drink the wine.
That skeleton used to scare the crap out of me as a kid because I used to watch this movie all the time, and that skeleton, man.
But his voice is so funny.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, but what about the wine? It's like, I love that idea because it kind of reminded me when I was a kid of like Pirates of the Caribbean, where they have the animatronic of the skeleton drinking the wine, and you just seeing it go right through him.
I love that you bring that up about how terrifying the skeleton is, because I think that's very, like, that's a hallmark of a good 80s kids movie, is that there's something just terrifying in the movie. Like, somehow when people were making these movies, they're like, the kids will be fine. Let's just terrify them. Let's, like, it's no problem.
Yeah, and that literally was the dark ages of animation during like the 80s and the last part of the 90s, or the beginning of the 90s was, the villains were still villains, and there were still very dark parts of these, because fairy tales and fables, they're not cute. Like they've got cute moments if you go all the way back, but they were full of horror and terror and like all of this stuff, because of a well-rounded folklore fairy tale, has very, very good and very, very bad. And it's this circle of storytelling. And that's why I think I love, the dark ages of Disney and all these other animated, because they scared the crap out of me, but it was this, you went from very dark to very, to very good.
The Red Bull used to scare me to death.
Oh my gosh, that Red Bull. Yeah.
It did not give you wings.
No. Well done. But I loved Schmendrick. I thought Schmendrick was just a highlight. I love the scene at the carnival with the old woman who's keeping the unicorn, and there's some dark moments in that one, but that one is really, really good to me. So those are my 3 for this week.
All right, Val, you want to do yours last, or do you want to go next?
I'm fine. One of them's already gone, so I only have 2 left. But it's fun that Tracy and I actually agreed on something for one.
I know, it's well, and I like Ratatouille as well. I would love to. We should do an episode on it. And
there's so much to talk about with Ratatouille, so that would be maybe that's film. The episode that maybe we have our little friend on, with one of our Disney loving friends on with. So the first one is Ponyo.
Okay.
Ponyo, I love so much. And this is the Disney version of the story. And this is Disney's try kind of do, something different. And I know I have not watched a lot of anime in my life. I've watched all the big ones, that everybody talks about, but I haven't I've never done a deep dive into anime. But for me, I thought Ponyo was so great. You did have, that villain that was also kind of not a villain at the same time, which was her dad. I think I just froze up, but
you're here.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. For some reason, my screen is frozen, but so Ponyo is a fish who doesn't want to be a fish, and who magically turns into the most rambunctious little girl ever. And her father, he has a job in the sea, but it's kind of almost like a weird version of the Little Mermaid to me. But I love it. And she meets this little boy who is just so fantastic. I just think the animation is so much fun. The first like the sequence at the beginning of the movie, before the movie even starts, the music and the animation before it even gets into the movie is so beautiful. And I did get to screen this one when I worked at Disney on the big screen. And I was just mesmerized by these opening credits and this animation and this music, and then getting into just this, fun, like it was kind of a dark story, but it was also just super fun. And have you guys both seen Ponyo?
It's been a while, but yeah.
Yeah. So when they're racing through, the city because the water is coming, like that animation, that part of the animation with things kind of popping up out of the water, and then they see things that, that I feel like as a kid, those things may have been there in the ocean and we never saw them because we weren't paying attention. Like I love all of that. And she just ate so much. Like she ate, like just watching her eat was so much fun to me. But it was just, to me, it was such a good story, but it was just like every time I think of it, it just makes me smile as a movie. Like I just think it was so much fun. They gave these characters, these two kids, so much brightness, I guess, in their personalities, even though there were some, there were some things going on around them that weren't so bright and light. And the music was fun, and the animation I just thought was so different and fun for me at the time, again, because I, hadn't seen a lot of anime, and I know this isn't true anime. This is, like Disney's version, but they did bring in, and I forget the director's name, and I'm on my phone, so I can't.
Hayao Miyazaki, I think.
Yeah, so they did bring in some professionals, to give it that feel. But I think what that could be is like Ponyo could be a gateway of anime to people that would have never otherwise like watched it, because it is like, if you're not into it, to me sometimes anime feels a little overwhelming because I don't know where to start to even like, where do I go? So I usually watch all the bigger movies that come out, but I haven't seen a lot of the television, like the series and the shows and everything like that. So
there's different subgenres in anime too, so it just depends on what you want.
There's so much. It's such a big world. But to me, Ponyo is beautiful and pretty. The music was amazing. As an adult, I could watch that all the time. My second pick was Ratatouille, and we talked about that one. And then my third pick is a little controversial because there are a lot of mommy blogs over the past, 5 years about why this movie is still rated G. And I think that's just a bunch of poo for me. And it's My Fair Lady. My Fair Lady, to me, should still be G rated. Yes, there are people smoking in the film. Yes, there are people drinking in the film. But for me, and we've all done it, if you've ever babysat a kid or a niece, a nephew, or your own kids, and you're like, hey, you're going to go watch Monsters, Inc. for an hour because I got to get some stuff done, and you set them in front of the TV and they watch Monsters, Inc. I still think you could set your kid in front of My Fair Lady and they would have a good time and they would enjoy it. If they pick up a cigarette that you left on the table and start smoking as a toddler, that's on you. Maybe you shouldn't have that there. Maybe you should have your liquor in the liquor cabinet. Like, this is, like, for me, I don't think that movies should be parenting. I think that movies are good. I think that films, and you guys know I feel strongly about this in media, are a good like a board to get you into good conversations about things that maybe are difficult for you to have with your kids, right? But My Fair Lady, it is visually stunning. There are great musical numbers. It's hilarious in even just what they're doing, like what the story is about. Let's grab this, woman and see if we can turn her into someone in society. And then as they're changing her, they're also changing and realize maybe the things that we think are important aren't as important as we think they are, which I think is a great message for anyone, but also kids. But again, as a little girl, I'm just looking at this movie and there's so much visually to take in. It's so beautiful. And it did make me feel like, well, I don't sound like them, but then there's also people that are around me that I don't sound like, and maybe I don't need to change. Like, it's fun to dress up every once in a while, but I'm probably just okay being me.
Yep.
So
More than
I like
okay.
it, but a lot of people think it should be at least rated PG.
I had not heard that controversy. That's interesting.
Well,
Yeah, there's a lot of blogs. Google it. It's all
Mm.
over the place. There are moms with a mission, and it's My Fair Lady. And I'm thinking, you should put your efforts into something else. Like,
Yeah.
you
yeah.
have a lot, you've got a big voice. You should maybe put it into child trafficking. How about do that and just leave My Fair Lady alone?
Well, and the thing is, again, this goes back to, yeah, if My Fair Lady were to be made today, shot for shot, exactly the same, and they included the smoking and things like that, it probably would not get a G rating, and I totally
Right.
get that. But we have to understand that that wasn't the norm when the movie came out, and I think that that's a better opportunity to have conversations with your kids
Mhm.
about,
Yeah.
yeah, things have changed. We didn't understand as much the implications health-wise of smoking
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
things like that.
Most
Now
of
we
these people
understand
are
that
dead
better.
because of lung cancer right now.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, and those are conversations that you can have and discussions you can have. Like, if my kids watch Peter Pan, we have a discussion about
Yeah.
why the song about,
The
what makes
Indian.
the red man red is
Yeah.
not really appropriate and,
Mhm.
and the stereotypes that it talks about and things like that. And so I think these are opportunities to have conversations
Mhm.
more than saying, "Hey, let's change the rating," because parenting is not an autopilot thing that you can just say, "Oh, I'm gonna try." Like, you should be aware of what your kids are watching regardless of what the
Mhm.
Yeah.
rating is. So,
Yeah. So those are
those are
my movies.
good picks. I also picked,
Ratatouille.
Hayao Miyazaki film. I did not pick
Yay!
Ratatouille, but I picked a Hayao Miyazaki, and I'm sure I'm butchering that every time, and I apologize. He's an incredible director.
Yeah,
Mhm.
As far as anime goes, I wanted to do Spirited Away,
I
I
um,
love
love that
that
one.
one.
but it's PG, so I couldn't pick that
Yeah.
Mm.
one. So I went with My Neighbor Totoro, which
Ah.
is just a fantastic film. And when you watch it, it is hard to believe that this film was made in 1988
Yeah.
is when
Oh,
it came out.
wow. I didn't realize it was that long ago.
When I think of animation at that time frame, I mean, Beauty and the Beast comes out a year later, but when I think of animation that we saw here in the States at that time frame, nothing looked like My Neighbor
Mm-mm.
Totoro. I mean, it is beautiful from start to finish, and, it's fun, it's adventurous, and it deals with some serious issues, like they're moving to the country so they can be closer to their mom who's super sick and, how they deal with that, and plus it's got a giant Totoro. Whatever Totoro is, he's and
I
everybody
just
should want
want to
one.
love Totoro.
Yeah. Not to mention the cat bus, which is also incredibly imaginative and fun.
Mhm.
Um, the my first experience with this film was, in high school. My friends and I watched this because one of my friends was like, "You guys have to check this out. This is so weird." And we watched it and we loved it. And then we put together a video presentation for our history class, and we thought it would be fun in the middle of our presentation to have a commercial for My Neighbor Totoro and the cat bus. And so this is always a film that has stood out to me for that reason, if nothing
Nice.
else. But it is an amazing film. It's an amazing story, well directed and just well animated. So that's my first pick. My second is a non-animated movie, and I went with Disney's The Rookie that came out. I
I
think
Oh,
in
almost
yeah.
chose
2002.
that one.
Yeah, that's a
I
good
love the
one.
rookie so much.
That's a good one.
I feel like G-rated films fall into two categories. They're either like animated made for kids or
Mhm.
they're just really old and so they've just got the G rating because everything had the G rating.
Right,
The
right.
Rookie is an honest to goodness, like, film. It is
Mhm.
made for, anybody.
Unlike
There's
My
just
Fair Lady, it's not. It's not a real honest to goodness.
what's that?
Nothing. Keep going.
No, no, My Fair Lady okay, so what I mean by so My Fair
I
Lady
know, I'm
falls
just
into that
giving
older
you a
film
hard
category.
time.
No, it's fine. But what I mean by that is, like, now if you see a movie that's not animated and not geared toward kids, then it's like pushing some kind of agenda or something where it's just and it's not very well done. It's not, but this is like done by a major studio. It's a Disney
Mhm.
film, and it's just well acted. Dennis Quaid is really good in this film.
He's such a
Um,
Mhm.
good actor.
yeah, and I just love it. I love the story. I love the idea that, if there's something that you're passionate about, don't give up on it just because time has gone away or you just feel like you can't like I love the idea of going out and trying again even though it's late in life, and I love that he succeeds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just a good fun feel good movie, and I love sports movies, so I'm gonna be on board with almost anything. Like, I will not sit down and watch a baseball game, but if you put on a baseball movie, I'm there for it. Like, no problem.
I don't mind baseball in the stands. Baseball on
Yeah, I
TV is
can't watch
hard.
baseball on TV.
Yeah.
That's hard. Yeah.
I agree. In the stands is great. You can get a hot dog. It's fun to be in the atmosphere and the singing and like it's just fun to be there. But yeah, watching it on TV at home, I don't understand. And
Hard.
baseball fans, like I love
Mhm.
you and I think it's great that you love baseball, but put on a baseball movie and I don't care, I'll watch it.
I love
They're
all sports
really
movies, and I
good.
barely ever do any sports or go to any sports games. So
Yeah. Well, like I feel that way about Miracle from
That's a
with
good
the
one.
US hockey team.
Yep.
I know nothing about hockey. I've been to one hockey game my whole life, but I love this movie. I don't care that I don't know the sport at all. Like I
I got
get
to after that movie came out, I was working for a company and they wanted to do a big sales meeting and used Miracle as kind of their theme. And they brought Michael Ruzioni from the original hockey team in. He was the captain and the goalie. I think he was the goalie. Anyway, he got
No,
to
he wasn't the
speak.
goalie.
Okay.
Ruzioni wasn't the goalie. But yeah, he was the captain.
But anyway, he got to come speak and we got to meet him and get an autograph, and that was pretty cool. I like Miracle quite a bit. That's a good movie.
But it was also rated PG, so I didn't pick that one. But The Rookie is rated G, and it's fun, and I think that people should watch it. And then my number 3 was Beauty and the Beast that came out. That
the animated, right?
Yes, yes. Listen, the live action was fine, but in a world where the animated version already existed and was fantastic, we didn't need a live action that was basically the same.
The Lion King.
That's my complaint. The Lion King, the Beauty and the Beast live action, that's my biggest complaint about both of those is we already have this movie and it's animated and it's nearly perfect. So why are we doing this? At least Aladdin gave us something a little bit more, which was a nice surprise. But yeah, Beauty and the Beast, this is the film, along with Little Mermaid and Aladdin, I think of these 3 films as the ones that brought us into the Disney Renaissance, and they started doing some great animated films again, and brought us kind of out of that dark ages that you talked about, Val, earlier. But I've always had a soft spot for Beauty and the Beast. I've always wanted, like when I was a kid, if I were to say who my Disney princess crush would be, it would be Belle for sure, because I was like, she seems smart, she seems capable, and she doesn't mind big ugly guys. So like I'm on board with this. So and I always joked about wanting to find my Belle someday, and I feel like that's who I married with my wife, who's also really into books and really smart and capable. So and it's her favorite movie as well. So that's one that we kind of bond over as well.
Nice.
So but yeah, I mean if you haven't seen Beauty and the Beast, I guess I'm surprised and shocked. So please go watch it.
And have you ever tried the gray stuff?
It is delicious.
It is delicious.
I had it at the Rose Tavern or whatever in Disneyland that has it. We made a point to try the gray stuff, and it was really good.
I still have not tried the gray stuff.
Gray stuff is good.
I think people just want it to be delicious. Okay, so here's the thing. It is good. It's fine. But like it's like a frosting-y kind of
flavor. It is very frosting-y.
And it's very sweet. And some people don't like it for that reason, but it wasn't bad. So.
You know what we need to do is we need to have your other podcast, Val, and talk about the food of the Disney parks.
Yeah.
And that other podcast is Multiplane Podcast. I don't know why Tracy was afraid to say the name.
I had a brain cramp.
Yeah, we're planning on doing a bunch of these because now, like he's there for a long time.
Oh yeah.
I was only there for 12 hours. But still very happy that I was there, and so we're gonna do a bunch of podcasts about the park coming up. So
nice.
Yeah.
I love some of his behind the scenes stuff, or not behind the scenes, but the Oogie Boogie Bash, because I've never actually been to that.
Yeah.
That was fun to see.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, there was one that I meant to choose and I didn't, but I feel like we should mention it. It is Aardman Studios' first full-length feature film, Chicken Run.
I almost picked Chicken Run too.
Chicken Run's a great choice
here's
too.
my list of 10. Now whittle them down. I love Chicken Run. Chicken Run was hilarious.
I'll pick Chicken Run. You pick Ratatouille.
Well, but we're not done talking about Beauty and the Beast yet. The cool thing about Beauty and the Beast was because you guys know how much I love sidekicks in movies, and there were a plethora of sidekicks in this movie. I mean, Cogsworth alone is an amazing, amazing character, and then you have Lumiere, and then you've got Chip, and then you've got Mrs. Potts, who, like, these are all, like, characters that we love as much as the main characters in the movies. You know, like, they've made so much just on the merchandising of this film still. Like, anytime you don't see things with Chip very often now, but if you do, it's sold out. Like, it's, it's Beauty and the Beast is one of those that, now we're going to be having a series that's just Gaston, and his character is so much fun. And they did such a great job, with all of the music, and it just from start to finish was right on the beat, and they made it so that Belle in the end had to save him.
Right.
Which I loved, because before that you didn't really see that. It's not as, like, people I think about it more with the newer ones that they're specifically like making that a thing, but back then it was, she, one, is trying to save her dad.
Right.
And then two, she ends up having to save Beast as well. It was some really good storytelling for a little girl.
I might be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't that the first animated feature nominated for Best Picture?
It was the first animated feature nominated for Best Picture. You are not wrong. It also won the Golden Globe for Best Musical or Comedy. And it was the first animated feature to do that. And those facts are actually provided courtesy of our friend London, who commented on our Facebook page about that.
Nice. Thanks,
I did
London.
not see the comments, but thank you, London.
And she also, and one of the movies that she also mentioned was Land Before Time, which I do think we have to mention as an honorable mention, because I think
Land Before Time, and I wanted on my honorable mentions was The Secrets of Nim.
Yeah,
I almost picked that one. Yes, that's another one that scared me.
There's so many.
Yeah, that's another one that was very intense in parts, but it still holds up. I watched it a couple of years ago. A friend held a screening over at Ice House, and we had a kind of a get together with Blake Castleman, and we ate ribs and watched Secret of Nim, and it holds up.
Yeah. And then our friend Craig also mentioned Aladdin as
another
favorite.
Good one.
I mean, that's why I didn't pick any of the big ones, because, like, I figured it was just known that we would all love those. So
and I picked Beauty and the Beast only because of those things. Like, it is one that just really changed the way people looked at animated movies, and I feel like it does still hold up.
That ballroom sequence,
it's incredible.
Incredible. And it was, I think, one of the first to merge traditional animation with 3D animation.
Yeah, I remember that being a big deal with, like, the behind the scenes. They showed the kind of the 3D computer generated animation, and I'm like, someday we'll make full movies like this. And then Toy Story came along. So, but there are a lot of good films, and I would definitely recommend, like, going out there and seeing, lists of G-rated films. You might be surprised some of the ones that are on there. We didn't talk about any Muppets movies, and there's a lot of the Muppets films.
I really thought Tracy was going to have at least one Muppets movie.
We've talked about a bunch of Muppets on this show, so I didn't pick those, but I do have a major soft spot. And speaking of Muppets, coming up this week on Matinee Heroes presents Cast Off, you can watch me battle my brother of the Glengarry Glen Ross recast with Muppets. And you get to hear me try and do Muppet voices, which does not go well.
I loved some of the lines that Craig picked for that, and how your brother and you both just edited them, because you're like, no, Muppets only do G-rated. Sorry. But I sat in the studio audience for that one. It was entertaining. It's like, I hope people will listen to it, because it was a lot of fun and entertaining.
It was a good time. Yeah.
Even if you've never seen Glengarry Glen Ross, just listening to Tracy doing the Muppet voices, and Troy with some of the voices that he does.
Which he does well. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't listened to it, but he does well on the first few that he picks, and I think he picked those just because he does well. And I'd also like to throw out there,
one of his picks, in my opinion, is not actually a Muppet.
I would agree with that one,
It's a Jim Henson creation, but not a Muppet.
Oh.
So
we did get permission to use Sesame Street just to try and broaden the scope, but
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
but
fine
here's
then.
The thing. He had not watched that movie. He cast just based off of IMDb and Wikipedia.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If I was like, maybe I should watch this movie, and I looked at the description in IMDb, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? I'm really okay without watching it.
Don't ever need to see it.
It's well acted, it's well written, but it's toxic masculinity to the nth degree for sure.
Yeah. All you need to know about the movie is coffee is for closers. All right. Yep. That's really all you need to know.
That's right. Exactly.
But anyway, it was fun though. It was more entertaining than I thought it was going to be, just because I was like, I don't know what this is going to be like, but it was fun. So people should definitely check it out. And we are looking forward to this month. I think we've got some good things planned. I think we're doing classic monsters. Is that what we're doing?
Correct.
Okay.
And I will be out for, I think, one of them, where you might have a stand-in for Val.
Cool.
Okay. We'll see if we can get somebody worked in there.
I'm getting married.
Woohoo! You're going to Hawaii.
Going to Hawaii.
That is going to be an awesome trip. I'm so excited for you.
It's going to be so great.
We'll share lots.
Super excited.
I
can't wait to see the dress.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to call you from Hawaii and do the show. So.
Great. Yeah, that's fine. I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that makes sense. No, I'm excited to see you in the dress, but I'm also.
We have seen the dress.
We've gotten a sneak peek.
I have had it altered, so you haven't seen the final version of the dress.
Ooh, okay.
But I'm also very intrigued to see what Dave wears. So I'll be honest, that's almost as exciting as anything else.
Me too.
So that and we'll make sure once we have pictures that we can post, we'll post it on Movies That Make Us page, because I think we have listeners that would be interested in that as well, and want to wish you the best. So
yeah, there will be a video, so you're welcome to post the video link of the ceremony if you want.
And Dave's a good guy, but man, he's marrying up.
Oh, you guys are so nice. I feel like I'm getting the best of this deal.
You are. So. Dave is a really, really good dude. It was fun to meet him at Fan X.
Yeah, it was good to because I maybe had met him once, and I don't know that you've had met him before. I hadn't met him. Well. And he's just a really great guy. I mean, just super personable, super nice, and incredibly talented. Man, some of the ink that he did, even just at Fan X, was just incredible. So
he's if really you're in the market, talented, and he's super smart. Like the crap that he knows about everything is just crazy to me, because I can't remember what I did yesterday.
Yeah.
But like I bring up something and he's like, so and then he gives me some like tidbit of history on it, and I'm like, where do you put all of this? Where do you store that?
Well, I've noticed just since becoming Facebook friends with him, some of the memes that he posts, I'm like,
oh my God,
some deep cuts. Like, you got to know what's going on to get why this is funny. And if you do, they're hilarious. But sometimes I'm like, I don't get this one. I'm gonna skip scrolling.
There's a lot of stuff I don't get either. I have to tell you guys though, he schemed this big surprise for me as a Christmas present / Valentine's Day present. And I got him to spill the beans, not on purpose, but he is taking me to North Pole, Alaska for Valentine's Day.
Okay, that's cool.
And he was going to give it to me as a Christmas present. And him and Sammy have been like scheming and putting it together. And I told Sammy, he told me, and she's like, why? And I'm like, well, we were having a conversation at lunch and things happened. And then I just guessed, because I'm like, why would we be going to the North Pole? Right. And so he's like, we're going to North Pole, Alaska. And he showed me like this little like North Pole town in Alaska. I'm like, but you hate Christmas. And he's like, but you love it. Oh. And Alaska will be, after Hawaii, it will be his 50th state. He will now have gone to all 50 states. But we're going to see the Northern Lights. We are going to go dog sledding. We're gonna do like all this stuff for Valentine's Day. So while you guys are living it up eating chocolates, I'm gonna be freezing my butt off, but it's still gonna be a great time. So that's why he's so great. Like
he's good.
He's
that's
a
awesome.
schemer, but in a good way.
You like Christmas, yeah, but you do. And that's awesome.
We're staying in a little elf cottage.
That is cool.
All I am starting to now realize that every year we get to hear about the exploits of Sammy and Dave for Christmas stuff.
That's true.
Because last year it was the engagement that came, and it was amazing and awesome, and now
they're plotting something for the wedding, and they keep having secret meetings. And at first they told me it's because I'm not eating sweets, and so they're like stashing them in Sammy's room, and that's why they keep meeting up there. And then I found out, well, that's kind of a lie. So something is going to happen at the wedding other than Dave's suit that I don't know about. And you guys know how I get when, like, I've planned this whole wedding.
Right.
I've planned he only knows of one thing, well, two things we're doing on our honeymoon. One of them is ziplining because he is really afraid of heights, so I did not want to surprise him with that. That's not nice.
That's fair.
And the other thing is we're going to be getting couples massages on the beach. But he doesn't know about anything else that we're doing, and I hope that he likes it because I think it's going to be fun, but we'll see. But him and Sammy and his mom are scheming about something that's going to happen, and I know nothing of it. I have not planned it. I don't know if it works within my plans. So I'm excited, but also I'm a little anxious about it.
Stay tuned.
If past schemes have taught us anything, though, Val, it's just going to be awesome.
Yeah,
just let it happen because it's going to be great.
I am. I'm trying to relax.
If past schemes have taught us anything.
Well, there you go. Oh, sorry, Tracy, I cut you off.
We need more schemes in our lives, don't we?
We do.
These kind of schemes, for sure. These are the kind of schemes that we all need more of.
Yes, for sure.
So, well, thank you so much for listening. That is our picks for G-rated movies. We will be back next week with a classic monster movie, and you won't want to miss that. Thank you so much, those that saw us at FanX. It was so great to meet you.
So much fun.
And I just realized we have great listeners, and that's just awesome. Just a great thing. So you can find us at all the places on social media. You can also find us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe there or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you would, it would be awesome if you would leave a review for us there so other people can find the podcast as well. So thank you so much, and we won't see you at the movies.
Bye.
Bye. Are you going to sing us out with anything, Tracy? Do you have any?
Beauty on the beach.
Do that.
This has been a Stolen Droids Media production.